but we also do it like for our family who are Roma.
The Roma Week, it is one of the most important events for the Roma civil society throughout Europe.
Done by Roma, for Roma.
But we are all women, we are all Romani women.
This sort of a shower of the hatred and violence coming from the screen on you, which I think that nobody wants this. It can actually mean that all the money that will be distributed first to someone else, and there will be nothing for Roma left. As I were the one behind the coordination of the Roma Week, so on behalf of the Ergo Network, it was mostly your job last half a year, even more. How do you look at the process? Like, how was the whole preparation going?
First of all, just to say that I always feel privileged to do this type of work. And as you know, like I'm very keen in having the chance to coordinate and to have the overall oversight of the Roma Week, just because I want us to make sure that we don't lose track of the important messages that are coming both from the actors and the stakeholders we're working with, but particularly from our members, from Roma civil society, from the Roma communities. And so I understand the value of it. And we have to admit that the Roma Week, it is one of the most important events for the Roma civil society throughout Europe. And so the fact that we as Ergo, we get a chance to coordinate these events, it's a privilege, and I cannot take it lightly. So it has been a privilege, but it has also been quite challenging and difficult to organize it, and also to make sure that we do consult, that we are able to take into account all of the input, the suggestions, and the needs that are coming from civil society, but also from institutions. So to find that balance, it's also like challenging. And so just also for the ones out there trying to understand how we function and how we try to make sure that Roma Week is successful for like everybody or for most of the stakeholders, we try to engage quite early after like this summer, like now we'll end the Roma Week. We start already with consultations with civil society, with institutions, both separately and together, to try and understand how did they feel about the previous Roma Week and what would be some of the projections for next year Roma Week. It's true that it's not always easy to know what to put out there in the next year, but like because of the, again, because we are privileges, policy actors still, even if we are not policy makers, we are still in influencing policy. We sometimes have, and we have experts that can project some of the political, economic, and human rights trajectories for next year. And so we are using all of that insights to actually put together a program that is both inclusive and diverse at the same time. So hopefully we always hope that we are doing a good job and the feedback is positive. And maybe you can also tell me, because you go around as a director, you have the chance to kind of speak to different partners and to also get a bit of feedback. How do they feel about the Roma Week?
For us, what it's important, and as you said, this is this cooperation, that we don't do anything alone. So practically using the opportunity, being in Brussels, opening many doors, but not only for us. We are always opening the doors for all the civil society and all the other actors. So having also the EU-Roma Policy Coalition, having those members who are coming to the meetings, presenting them the kind of the basic idea that we have or the resources we can put in, because Roma Week is also about like we have to have money to bring people here to organize these events. And it's not like it's not that there is a project that calls Roma Week. I mean, we really pulling and kind of getting together all the resources we are having. We're also asking the others, what is it that you would like to bring to the table? And I think this year we manage. We have actually quite a variety of different events. We have different partners also organizing their own events, topics. We can talk about it a bit later. But what I hear that they are happy that they got the stage, like that they got the place where they can talk about their work, and not just among themselves. That we managed to also bring a lot of people to Brussels. Like we have about 100 participants every day, because some participants are coming just for particular events, but altogether we talk about 200 people, mostly Roma. And I think this is also very specific, like having this event done by Roma, for Roma, together in
Yeah.
very participatory approach. I think this is special. And
So what would you say, also because a lot of the times you're the one to do the fundraising, right? You're like chasing MEPs, so if there are NGOs out there that didn't have yet the chance to be part of the Roma Week, you know, how would they be able to be a part? And maybe they're not always part of our consultation mechanisms. And also because, as you said, this involves some money, and it's true that we try to help as much as we can.
Yeah.
But what would be advisable for the ones that would like to be a part of
Yeah.
the Roma Week next year?
So I think what is the most important is to kind of make sure that you allocate in your budgets, in your projects that you are having, some resources for traveling to Brussels, for example. You don't need to make an event yourself. There might be like extra more resources needed. You can still kind of come and contribute if needed. But what is very important is to have just kind of come for 3 days, so have money for a travel, for some food, but we also providing mostly the food as well, and for the accommodation. And then you can participate. You can be here with us, coming to all the events, and practically I like this also sharing the knowledge, the reality from the ground, because often what we say it's not necessary to be on the agenda itself. Like I mean, the panels are limited. Uh, there can be not more than 4 or 5 people who are speaking at the panel, but we're always making sure that there is some questions and answer stage. I mean, we're doing our best to have them, but that's the intention, and then you can always speak. So yeah, so
basically it's an open participation, right?
yes,
What
it
the
is.
message is.
So we are opening the registration quite in advance, and then we say, but we cannot pay your travel to come here. So this is the important part. Like, just the capacities of the rooms are here. We just need you to come.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I think it's also important to mention that we try to uh, streamline the events as well. So for those that cannot make it to Brussels, and we understand the financial, the time challenges, you do have the possibility to just go online on the website of the web page of the Roma Week, and then under each event you will see the link that would allow you, and even on, I think, on our Facebook pages sometimes we put the links, so you will find those links that would enable you to actually watch, not to participate online, because we don't really have the capacities from a technical perspective to do so, but at least you can watch it online, and they will also remain on the website of the event, so you can then look at them later if you're not able to look at them in real time. And what I would like to do for this year, Gabby, as well, it's because like we are doing so much work and on this, and the partners are investing their time, and there are so much contributions, so rich discussions, and so much work that is done, that is being presented within the Roma Week, that it's a pity for us to lose a lot of the contributions that are being brought here, and also because then it is also our job as Ergo to kind of bring in all of these voices in our continued advocacy efforts. And I think that everybody will benefit from us making a Roma Week report as a result of this year. And
yeah, so all the recommendations are being said by the people to put them forward. I mean, we have to put them on the paper and work with them further. It's not enough that we just say it out loud here. We have to make sure it's landing on the table of those people who are responsible for the agenda. Right?
Then maybe now talk briefly about the topics and actually the subjects that we had during the Roma Week. Would you like to start maybe with the MFA?
So this was our opening event. It was focusing on funding. Like we are in this very crucial period where right now the member states, together with the European Parliament and European Commission, they're preparing the new programming period 2028 to 2032, and we are practically with our work making sure that the Roma priority remains there, and that's why we organized this event together with the people from the Commission, European Parliament. As I said, we had people, parliamentarians who are working on the file, who are rapporteurs for this particular file, giving their expertise to the funding. And now they were there. Some of them actually stay almost the whole event. They were listening to us, and they could hear the Roma perspective. but also the other experts who are
Yeah.
working in the field. So
Yeah.
because we work also as an ergo, we are engaged in monitoring, in the Roma civic monitoring. So we have a kind of gathering together with the Central European University knowledge from the whole European Union on what is happening on the ground, and we are able to transpose it to those kind of the needs and then the recommendations. So there we had a very nice kind of a platform for this exchange. And I think then we already have an ergo recommendation paper on the funding.
Yeah. And what I would also like to make a call to everybody that is listening to us and watching us, that it's important that this message or this claim that the next programming period maintains a Roma specificity, and within this, a focus on the fight against anti-Gypsyism, it's really important because unfortunately, there is a high likelihood that the next programming period is not going to be as focused on any of the vulnerable groups as it has been before. And as you probably know, and I'm addressing now the audience, in this current programming period, we still have this conditionality on funding, which is linked to member states having the national Roma strategies, and from that derives some of the recommendations that the Commission is making through the national Roma strategies, and then the commitments that the member states themselves are taking through the adoption of the Roma national strategies. Now, unfortunately, within the negotiation process, we are seeing that some of the member states, and big member states, I don't know if we can say names here, but big member states are not necessarily keen to have Roma and other vulnerable groups as a specific category mentioned. What does this actually mean for the Roma in the next, 5-10 years, Gabi?
It can actually mean that all the money that will be distributed first to someone else, and there will be nothing for Roma left.
So this is really important.
This is really important because if we actually see it, that if we don't have the specific priority, then we have to compete with the mainstream. And there is like so much competition out there. There's so many different groups, and we know from experience that Roma are always the last. So if we don't put it concretely, we might actually lose it.
Yeah, and there is one specificity also maybe to mention, because a lot of the civil society organizations do apply to these serve calls, these calls for citizenship, rights and values, right? Which is like a yearly call for civil society, which used to have so far until this year this specific focus on the fight against anti-Gypsyism and also anti-racism more broadly. And so with the Commission's new proposal on having 3 different streams of funding, which is one of which is also the CERF, combined into what they call Agora EU, there is a high risk that the specificities are going to be lost. What this means, again, as Gabi has mentioned, it means that it's going to be increasingly difficult for NGOs to compete in these funding calls. And so what we ask from you is, do make the same request from your governments and that are representing us in the European Council discussions and negotiations. It's important. And if you want to have more specific language, do go on our website, and I think they will find there our point of view. But of course, you can add the national specificity to it as well. But I think this is basically the core message from the first event.
Exactly, exactly. This is what we want to get out there. So we care, we are bringing it in, but we also need to make sure that it's actually being spread, and then the work on the national and local level is also happening.
That's excellent.
But then maybe the next event, that was also very important because kind of we cannot do any work in advocacy, we cannot influence any political decisions or political work without data, without having the knowledge. So can you tell us more about this other event which was focusing on the data collection on anti-Gypsum specifically?
I was happy to be able to coordinate this event also from the perspective of the work that Ergo is doing on this topic. And here we have like a very comprehensive, I would say, approach on the monitoring when it comes to various regional and European instruments. And now I specifically mentioned the EU policy, which is the strategic framework for Roma equality, inclusion, and participation that we, together with our members in various member states and also in national countries, are able to do. So we basically monitor the implementation of the national strategies on the ground. And as a result, we are also conducting various surveys whereby we're putting all the information, both from our members, but also from other civil society, into a report that is then shared with the European Commission, that can then take notice of our own reflections and our own input and of our members in the civil society on the implementation of the national strategies. We know that the Commission is doing their own evaluation, which is directly with the member states, but obviously the Commission also has to have the critical standpoint of civil society on this implementation. So that's one thing that we're doing, and this is how we are collecting our data. The other way that we are collecting our data, it's also for us participating under the Roma Civil Monitoring, an initiative I would like you maybe to add a point on, which has been implemented for the past 2 financial cycles. And it was the initiative of our dear president of Ergo, Soraya Post, who at the time was a European member of a member of the European Parliament. And so within the Roma Civil Monitoring, we have a limited role. It's mainly implemented by the Central European University, whereby you have a lot of national coalitions of NGOs. I think around 100 NGOs are part of it in all of the 26, I think, member states that are implementing the national Roma strategies. And this is like an important element that it's also reflected by the European Commission in their own official reporting. So basically, when they report on the inputs from the member states, they also have within that report the reflections from the Roma Civil Monitoring. And so with this event, we tried to combine all of these data, but also we wanted to showcase and to launch, that's why this event is actually called Index, which is a quite new initiative, which we are very proud of. I'm sure you're too. We are doing it in cooperation with the Council of Europe. So while everything that I said is linked to the implementation of the national Roma strategies under the EU Roma framework, strategic framework, this is work that it's done with the Council of Europe on the implementation of their own standards. So definitely, Council of Europe has their own monitoring mechanisms, ECRI, Greta on trafficking, national framework for national minorities, regional and European Charter for minority languages, a lot of mechanisms, right? And so they do their own monitoring in terms of implementation of the commitments of the member states. But then what we wanted to do is also provide the Council of Europe with the civil society perspective on all of this, the implementation of all of these standards as something that the Council of Europe can look into as an additional critical point on how the implementation is going. It is something that the Council of Europe, unfortunately, didn't have as a systematic and comprehensive tool. Obviously, at any time and point, civil society can actually send and submit their input to the Council of Europe, but this is like an organized and strategic effort. So then looking at all the different mechanisms, with this event, we wanted to actually try and understand how we can make it more efficient, that we can utilize as civil society all of these mechanisms to provide input. But then at the end of the day, where does the accountability of the member states lies? Because they have to report all of these mechanisms at the same time or at different times, and there are a lot of reporting obligations. But then how are they even kept accountable, and how we can also help them to maximize the efforts and align their reporting maybe to the various bodies, but at the same time, how we can strengthen civil society to be able to do such a coordinated monitoring response to all of these policy or standard setting mechanisms.
Very difficult task. So
Yes.
there need to be tools, there need to be
Absolutely.
resources.
So that's why we asked also institutions like the Council of Europe, the United Nations, the Fundamental Rights Agency, Equinet, and the European Commission to be at this event so that we can discuss it together and see, can we be more complementary rather than overlapping.
Was there already some results? So what were the...
Yes. So in short, we had very good recommendations from some of these stakeholders. I'm not going to name them here.
no.
That basically said that in order to validate the data of the civil society, sometimes you just need numbers. Because member states, like with this index, we are looking at 20 Council of Europe member states with the intention to also increase it to the other remaining 20 member states. We also want to kind of be in a position to tell governments, you failed here, or you just did partial implementation, or you did,
sort of semaphore to kind of show a bit,
yes. And so they might come and negate what we are saying to them.
Okay.
And so then one of the responses was that they might do that, but by you having a mass response from civil society, not 20, not 30, but 100 by hundreds, and if you can by thousands, then that in itself, it's validated. So you don't need to have a sophisticated methodology of how you have collected your data. Of course, it has to be still an accurate methodology, but by having the numbers, you're able to basically say to the governments, you know what, we don't actually care because this is the reality that Roma are facing.
But that's a good knowledge.
Yes.
That's a good recommendation.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's see how we get forward.
Yes. So I think that the final point is that everybody in the room, and particularly the institutions that are implementing this policy frameworks or standard setting frameworks, were very interested in continuing the conversation and definitely cooperate with us, ergo, in continuing the index, in improving it, and then maybe having not just a continuation, but have it on a regular basis, and also then to see how we can work to improve and align all the other monitoring efforts by civil society. So that was all.
Okay. Another event that we were organizing in the Roma Week was focusing on Romani queer women. And it was actually for the first time in this 10 years of organizing Roma Week, we bring this topic among the other events. It was a close, smaller event, but we had quite a big support of a member of the European Parliament, Melissa Camara. She was there, and we had women coming from all parts of Europe, Romani queer women. And first, they were showing their research, which it actually brings some data on how is the situation on the queer women at this very moment. But they brought something more. They brought this personal stories, and I think that's always what matters. I mean, also for us, very often it's not easy to imagine what is it to be. I mean, we know what is it to be a Roma woman, especially like two of us. It's like as a woman you are already discriminated, and this intersectional approach was always like even when we started, it was hard to advocate for kind of talking about women from a different perspective than just like that women can speak about women. But what we talked there about that being a queer woman, so you are really much kind of neglected from the Roma community itself, even from some of the mainstream women, Roma women community, but then also from the queer community as such. So practically the belonging, it's almost not happening. So there was like a very safe space where people shared what does it mean for them, but also finding those other stories. So women from Moldova, Romania, but also France or somewhere else around Europe, they actually bring forward the need to talk more about this, to open it up, but also to work with the Roma community as such. So practically there was a Ergo network as us, but also a European Roma Rights Center, but also so many other organizations around, like ILGA Europe was there, people from Equinet, Amnesty International. Organizer was the Roma Feminist Library. That's an initiative of Roma women, not all only queer women, but the Roma women. So they were bringing forward this topic. They made a very beautiful booklet, which says some stories, poetry, but also bringing some artistic perspective of those women. So very much playing with not only with the narrative, but with the sensitivity and the kind of being more sensible, of making people more sensible to those issues that we Roma are dealing. So I'm really encouraging everybody to look on the Roma feminist library for the report.
Yes.
And I really believe that also as Ergo, but
Yeah.
also many other Roma organizations can actually include this, and also for us to being more open
Yeah.
to this intersectionality and the variety of different type of discrimination we are facing within our own people.
Because it was indeed a conversation that we had, like to make sure that there is inclusivity, and so and also like the Roma Week being one of the places where we can also bring the perspective of the LGBTIQ communities, and particularly in this case, Romani women, just to show solidarity that we are all women, we are all Romani women, and also that it's high time that we break down those stereotypes and like we close our doors to our brothers and sisters from various communities that for like historically have not been very accepted, and I think we all have a role to play. So I'm so happy that you were able to attend and make sure that our position as Ergo is one of openness, of solidarity and
Yeah.
inclusivity.
I also felt it very
Yeah.
important, and very important that we put it on our agenda this year. Roma Week. It's not only about events and conferences, or should not be only about the events and conferences. But we also wanted to do, we want to bring a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more stories, but also through art, culture. And this time we all managed to put on our agenda a film. It was a documentary movie made by a Roma director, Catalin Barscioni, and also the whole production company where all the people engaged were practically Roma. And it's about the story of repatriation of a Kosovo family from Germany back to Kosovo that was sent to Mitrovica, to this lead poisoning area in close to Mitrovica, and practically for 15 years, Katalin was following the family, was making their story. Like she got so close to them that practically you really see all the developments and all the kind of hardship that they encounter. It has a sort of a happy end, but we know that during this period of after the war in Kosovo, there were 35,000 displaced people, or 35,000 refugees in Germany only, and they were all sent back. So this movie was capturing one family, but there are 35,000 people who went through the same thing, and there are still people in Germany who are fearing to be sent back. So this topic is still very accurate. We had a small debate after, and with those main protagonists. And what I really enjoyed, something that coming from us, from Roma, something that kind of, if you are being asked, what is it that's kind of moving you forward? What is the engine? And practically for them, and I think for many of us, it's the family. It's practically like you have this is why you do the things for, right? And I think that also being in the position here in Brussels, thinking like we do this for Roma, but we also do it like for our family who are Roma.
So that's the essence of the Roma identity, isn't it? Like the Roma family.
Yeah, and it was such a well captured there, because those guys are just kind of a regular ordinary guys, although one actually become a pilot engineer, and he's like working for the air force aircraft, kind of balancing the planes before they go out. So actually having his master degree, having a very good education, but just not being in the movement, but still speaking the language, which I think it's affecting all of us.
So maybe also to mention that this is not a film that only we had the privilege to watch.
Yeah, so this is a festival movie. So it was already been um, promoted in many festivals. It was already awarded. So Katashi actually got a women award for the woman director, and it's going to be further. So you can still kind of watch Romedia Foundation and to see We are moving to another day, which was focusing. The first event was focusing on online anti-Gypsyism. It was promoting the work of Tao together against anti-Gypsyism online. There was a project that was run by the Ergo members, but I think what was very specific is that it was young people testing themselves as the regular users the internet, like every social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, practically everything what is available there, and they were reporting those things which are happening. And there's some interesting results. First of all, that very often even us Roma, we would actually not kind of consider the violation of our own rights online as a violation. Practically, we got like somehow comfortable with the languages is being used against us. We might not even report. And that's also being reflected on those platforms, how they are dealing with it. And of course, because those platforms also for them, it's more visibility. So it's also take them a lot of time before they take those, take it down, because actually as more interesting kind of jokes and in this case about Roma are circulating, the more followers, the more time people are spending on their platforms. So actually, it's becoming quite difficult. But there are attempts. The platforms, of course, are being called responsible. There's some European legislation which is also dealing with that. So we had people from European Parliament, from European Commission, people from the ground, from Equinet as well, people or from the equality bodies as well. So practically all those important actors again and institutions. But what I think is also the message, at least for us, it's that it's also us not to let the kind of get the dirt on us just kind of go so easily.
Or this algorithm, right? Because like as our colleague Anna would explain often to us, is that these algorithms seem to have their own life, their lives of their own. They have their own life, hate is being put in or spread online.
And even more difficult with the AI generated videos today because they are also very much liked. But this is something that I think that we need practically those institutions to kind of take a little bit to kind of bring some boundaries, because that we cannot just tolerate the anti-Gypsum, which is like so strongly violating our people. And I think that was also what I heard today, that behind every computer there is a person sitting. And it's like we are affected. It's practically, you don't want to have kind of to fill your trauma just by watching something. You just want to connect with your friends, but then there is like this sort of a shower of the hatred and violence coming from the screen on you, which I think that nobody wants this, but why we should having it.
But that's why I believe this is so important, that it's also that a lot of the Roma youth have been engaged and are engaging with actually following up these hateful discussions and language, reporting it, monitoring it, and also learning about all of these, AI algorithms, and actually be involved with it. So the fact that I feel a bit safer, to be honest, that we have the young generation that it's concerned with it, because like we're not. I mean, I'm not an IT profession. I do use these platforms, but I'm not always that good in using even my phone.
We should make sure that we empower them even more.
Absolutely,
to be able to do that.
That's the key message, that we need our youth to be more empowered to take a lead on this, and to help us also support them as well.
Tell us about the other event.
Then we had also the Equipe event, which is one of the projects we are implementing together with various partners at Europe, both at European level and national level, with SEPS, with ERIAC, with our NGOs at a national level in 6 countries, in Czechia, in Romania, in Spain, in Sweden, in Germany, and Czech Republic. I don't know if I mentioned it twice. And so, but we wanted not just to show the results of the project, because we are just about to end the implementation of the 2-year project, but also the results of the previous, which was Chachipen, which was implemented by SEPS, the Center for Policy Studies, together with us, and also broaden the conversation about transitional justice. So I think we are on a quite good road. And as I have seen from the conversations during the event, is that many have benefited from a national level. And that's an incredible result, I think.
Can
Yeah.
you tell us maybe what's different? Why this transitional
Yeah.
justice? What is it
Yeah.
like? How do you work about it? How you kind
Yeah.
of translate it in this policy debate? Because I
Yeah.
think that at
Yeah,
least the way
that's
I
good.
am looking
Yeah.
at it, it's
Yeah.
like one of the most important shifts
Mhm.
in how we talk about the anti-Gypsyism and about the kind of situation that Roma are facing through this
Yeah.
through this transitional justice perspective.
So basically, like if you want the switch, not necessarily the switch, I would say, but it's like the understanding that we are taking and the way we want it to be applied to us as Roma is that transitional justice does not only resort or limit itself to whatever has happened in the past to us. But transitional justice is in transition, if I may use this wording. So it's justice in transition.
But it's still acknowledging what happened.
It's acknowledging what happened,
right?
asking for accountability for the past,
Exactly.
asking for retribution and compensation.
Exactly. And I think this is where actually Roma themselves are asking for this.
Absolutely. For the memory and truth that it actually happened.
Yeah.
But also it's about acknowledging the truth about today and the fact that this has repercussions also going forward. So anti-Gypsyism that is happening today, forced evictions, police violence, even remaining of forced sterilization of Romani women, removal of children or putting children in institutions. All of these are part of current manifestations of anti-Gypsyism, and they are part of transitional justice processes. To say that although all of these things have happened in the past, we as Roma communities, we have now benefited from like a timely acknowledgement, and then have a chance to even discuss the present. So basically, we're like doing past and present at the same time.
Right.
And it's very difficult because like others.
But we have to, because we have a lot of time to catch up.
Yeah,
right.
But
So that's
we need a lot of things to catch up with, but at the same time, institutions were never made or ready to deal with the situation today. So when we had the Nuremberg process for the Jewish communities, the trials and everything, Roma were not part of it. We're not even acknowledged at the time that we were part of the victims of the Holocaust.
Incredible.
Having a Nuremberg trial today, is that even possible? I don't know, probably not. You see? And so, what can you realistically ask to have for today? You can realistically ask for truth that it existed. You can realistically ask for commissions on anti-Gypsyism that have been happening in Germany.
And we have it as a good example, already.
It's happening in Spain as well. It happened also in Sweden, which are basically created with the purpose of bringing in the evidence, because although we as civil society might have it, it's not always recognized by the state. So when a state-created institution such as the Commission on Anti-Gypsyism does it, it's different. So it validates it, right?
Right.
So we can still realistically do that. We can still do the memory part. We can have Roma history. We can have Roma language in schools. We can have Roma museums. We can have the days celebrated, yes, in memory, yes, so many. So we can still have a lot of things, but also state accountability for whatever happens to Roma today. So this is basically what we try to discuss and trying to find ways through which this is like a common approach that is taking, obviously tailored in various member states, moving forward for all of the states where these atrocities have happened against the Roma.
And we keep you all updated. So also on our website and on antigypsum.eu. You find all the more information about the project, the detailed reports, the researches that are being done. And regardless, we're still waiting for one more project to kind of to go through. But regardless, we will still continue this approach because this is like something that so much investment has done. So we just cannot kind of let it go. So this is.
Please check the antigypsism.eu website, and you will have there both the results from ChatGPT project, but also from Equipe, which is like a tremendous amount of work that has been done both by partners and consortiums.
But since we are still in the middle of the Roma week, we still have to tell the others about all the other events which were happening. In the same day, just after the Equipe, we were organizing an event on housing. There is this very big momentum which is happening inside of the kind of on the policy level in the European Union, and that's the affordable housing plan, but also affordable energy plan. And this is all going to be presented now by the European Commission. But also there are some other bigger policies which are in place, like social climate plans or renovation building. So there are like a lot of investment into housing, but also debate on the housing. What we realized already in this kind of preparation of those policy documents, that Roma are not part of it again. So we were giving our inputs, we were going to the meetings, we were lobbying for more kind of acknowledgement of the Roma agenda. But what we managed during the Roma week, it was to bring all the actors together. So we have those from the task force responsible for the affordable housing plan. We have also UN Habitat here as a partner. We have also FEANSA, it's our partner. So they are working much more with this kind of energy poverty, because we know that the people, like I think across the spectrum, people are actually getting. It's hard for them to get finances to pay the utilities, and it's becoming more and more difficult. So FANSA is bringing this perspective, and we managed to discuss this together. We put also forward some recommendations, because we have to make sure that what is happening right now for Roma is that 80% of Roma are actually staying in overcrowded houses or apartments, and still 20% of our people, they don't have an access to water. So this is an important topic for us. It's great that we had it here. We had Roma together with those bigger institutions debating together, and we will make sure that the implementation of the affordable housing plan would make sure that Roma are there targeted as well.
Thank you, Gabi.
Besides the traditional dinner, which is always in the middle of the week, we always invite everybody, not only those who are coming from the different member states to Brussels, but also those who are in Brussels. We had 200 people again at the dinner with the Romani music. This year we had Bulgarian Roma band, but also Roma DJ after. And this is something that just we need to also have a space for networking, being a little bit more informal and getting together, because that's, I think, that where we can also meet each other and talk about those kind of initiatives and ideas even that we might have for working together or just being connected closer, not just in the conference spaces. So this is always important part of the Roma week.
Having a great fun with this dinner event. But we also had a few more events that had to do with other partners bringing in different topics, one of which was with the colleagues from DG NS in the European Commission that were very keen to also share their work on like data collection about the various enlargement countries. And we have both like the UNDP, the World Bank sharing their findings, but also civil society from the enlargement countries sharing their own findings and having a conversation about the current status and obviously the challenges and the opportunities ahead. And it was really amazing that we also had two MEPs that wanted to be a part of this event and also continue to support this topic, which is very important for us because we have members that are from Western Balkans countries and enlargement countries, including Turkey. So for us, it's really a good opportunity. You know?
And I think that also it's somehow important because very often, especially from this European Commission perspective, the European Union is being taken differently than as a Europe. But I think that at the end we are all Europeans, and that's where Roma are. So we are really making sure that when we talk about the Roma agenda, we don't talk just about the European Union, but we are also making sure that those Roma in the Balkans, in Turkey, in Ukraine, that practically they are part of these broader conversations, because some of the challenges we share, some are specific. And with this event that was brought by the DGNS, so it's mostly about the data. So practically it's about kind of baseline data, making sure that again there is like a solid ground for building the policies in the enlargement countries for future practice in the accession process, which is happening there.
Yeah, it's true. We also had partners that brought in, as we mentioned before, the issue of Romani women, but in this case, it was more to do with like young Romani women and how they can also be the motor and the engine, not just of their own transformation, but also the transformation of families and Roma communities. Because, you mentioned before that in our identity, Roma families at the core of our identity, and Romani women are at the core of the idea of a family. And with this event, it was important to give an opportunity again to our Romani women to speak their voices, to bring in their good experiences from the local level. And we have partners that are organizing this event from various countries, from Bulgaria,
Finland,
absolutely,
Italy,
from Italy, exactly. And so it really was important. And one of the things that also they wanted to make sure they at least announce it is the opportunity to have a Romani Women Award. So why not? I will celebrate any time of the day. So I think
that was a super nice idea, and I think this is something that we need to really like cherish, because we don't have enough those kind of good examples, those women that would actually come forward and can inspire the others. But also in the same time, I would say that generally about this event, that it was also self-organized, so that actually we as Ergo we didn't need to do much, but that actually it happened with the women themselves really kind of being behind the scene, but also on the scene and making sure that the message is being passed.
And I was happy to see that we also had the local level. We had someone from the from Sweden, from the regional level, that wanted to share their own experiences and work with Romani women, which is absolutely important. But also institutions such as the United Nations, both from the UN Women, but also from the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights, that also wanted to support the topic and to remind everyone how that investing in women is actually very sustainable. So it's not just that it's a human value, and there is an obligation to make sure that gender equality and mainstreaming happens, but this is not just an empty principle, but it's at the core, as we mentioned, of not just the Roma family, but also sustainable investment in our societies as well. And they have great experience. So we were happy to have them and share their good practices across the region. And not last, maybe the Roma Youth event.
Maybe just for the safety. There was also we actually brought a new topic also for us to the agenda. It was focusing a bit more on security and the safety of Roma.
Yes, and so this was a challenging debate and conversation in preparation of, and so because of a broader conversation, as you mentioned, on security, there's like the approach, for instance, of the Office for Security and Cooperation in Europe, ODID, which is also one of the organizing partners of this event, has always been that the security and the livelihood of Roma in the OSCE participating states has been always threatened. And so, but then the language that we hear sometimes from the UE is that Roma can constitute a threat themselves. And so we wanted to just...
So it's being turned out practically.
Shift the language. But in this particular case, then the point of the conversation was more focused on the lack or the gap within legislation at national level but also at EU level in terms of protection of Roma against police abuse, against hate crime or violence perpetrated by the law enforcement. Because this is viewed mainly as a responsibility of the government, the EU as it stands today doesn't have the prerequisites, doesn't have the legal framework of the basis whereby they would look into racist policing and they would condemn racist policing. The only thing that the EU is able to do at this point is to do training for
Awareness raising.
And we are part as also of this high level group on hate speech and hate crime with police, where police matters are also being discussed. So that's one of the gaps that we tried to address and to see what steps we can do to at least address some parts of these gaps, as we are aware that we cannot really come up, even propose such a solution because the EU doesn't have the legal prerequisites to do that. But also we wanted to share the extent to which police is invasive instead of protecting Roma communities.
Making the knowledge
it's a lot of the time the perpetrator, and also there is such a fear, as you know, by Roma to report violence, whether generated or not by the police, but just go to the police, they will not do it. And we know from our own cases at home, like my family,
because also
not
it's
go.
not trusting the institutions, and it's kind of
if you know that like the police is going to do harm to you, why would you go to the police to report it? So all of these, both like the policy and the protection levels, and also the experiences of the Roma communities, has been discussed during this event.
Amazing. And you can also find more in the report which will come out of the Roma week. So that's important.
Yes.
There is always a follow-up from each event. But we still have to mention one more that happened, the Roma Youth event.
Yeah. But also I would link it to the fact that during the Roma week we also had an event, a lunch event organized with the Roma youth in the European Parliament with the MEPs, which is always something that that we welcome within the Europe. Within the Roma week, this was organized by Ternipe.
Yeah, so there was actually a training for young Roma to learn more about the EU advocacy and about the whole the European EU bubble, but also they could participate in all the events of the Roma week. So that was one of them. They also have their specific event, like the lunch with the MEPs. They also kind of came and they raised questions in all the events. So we always making sure that this voice is being heard. But then, so it was organized by Ternipe, but then we had this final event, which closed practically the Roma week, focusing on, again, on like a particular work, particular projects.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we wanted to also give a chance to partners, even if it's part of projects, because sometimes, there was this question, is it possible? But, a lot of the times the NGOs are only able to implement initiatives for the context of projects. So then obviously we needed to be open to this idea as well. So we do have partners from national level that have organized this Roma Youth event together with Roma Youth, bringing their perspectives and their engagement with policy work. And they have put forward a number of policy recommendations that is also a bridge between this project and also with other youth networks, including the Ternipe that was mentioned previously. And of course, we also were happy to have the European Commission talk at this event and give their own perspective on the Roma youth. Also, us hoping that there's going to be more follow-up and bridge made between the work of the Roma youth and the EU institutions, which is always for us a successful result.
This is a successful result. And I would say, like, looking back at the Roma week, we open up with there were like some challenges. And we know that organize like such a big volume of events in the heart of Brussels, as I like to say, it's not an easy task. We had to change venues. We were practically, making sure that we are making it most comfortable for everyone who's being here. But at the same time, for us, logistically, this was not easy. But if I look back and thinking like how we actually managed, that was quite smooth transition between the events. the team of Ergo was always, on the move, but also very solid, very stable support for everybody around here. But that we also managed to have a high level participants, representative from across all the institutions, like minimum 15 members of the European Parliament.
I think so. Sometimes even more, because even if in some instances they were not able to be present,
but they're still supporting us. They
Yeah.
send the message. They kind of, being
They
with
help
us.
us host the events, reserve the rooms. This is
Two
also,
cabinets of
Yeah.
the commissioners, one for the equality, one for the employment. They were also communicating with us, sending the messages or sending the representatives. The European Commission across practically from different DGs was working with us, and then all these UN institution, OSCE, and many others who were here and making sure that this Roma Week
Council of Europe was very much present, both as a partner and also as a speaker in different events. We had, as you mentioned, Equinet. We have members of governments as well in different countries,
even local governments.
local governments, and of course we had also the president of the working group on Roma issues within the European Economic and Social Committee, which was one of the main partners and host of the Roma Week. So we definitely appreciate their support, their commitment, and also the partners from the local level, from Roma communities, the Roma youth, the Roma women, the Romani women, queer, all of their participation. I think it was amazing. We are so grateful to have had the opportunity for the third year now.
Ergo Network is third year behind the wheels.
Yes, that we are the main organizers for the Roma Week. So we hope to continue. I think we learned so much.
Yeah.
And that's why it's smooth now, because we have learned from past mistakes.
We do. And we
so,
also want to be held accountable. So if we say we want to co-organize and invite you for the next Roma Weeks, you can always turn to us. You can always talk to us about your ideas. And when we believe that the next year would be even better. I mean, it's not easy with the kind of environment, the political environment in Europe that we are facing, but we still do our best to make sure that we raise the voice, and not only raising the voice, but there are always actions behind the work that we are doing here.
That's why the Roma Week is a lot of the times the highlights, right? The real work it's before and after the Roma Week. So this is a reminder to all of us that these events they're not standalone. They carry a lot of weight.
And sometimes it takes before we see the results, but seeing that even the municipalities and the local level people are coming here to Brussels, we know that this is kind of slowly but surely reaching out to the ground where we want to see the change.
Definitely. And
I think that the only thing which is somehow different now is that there are no Roma in the European Parliament, practically for us. And I think that's also the reason why Ergo Network took the coordination is because there are no Roma members in the European Parliament. So we also have to have this context that we are working practically in the situation when there are no Roma, and we are filling the gap just because we are in Brussels and we feel the responsibility. But we want to share, we are taking the responsibility, but we are also want to open it as an opportunity, because this Roma Week just cannot be put down because of not having people inside. We get ourselves inside, and we make sure that we support some more Roma candidates also for the next time. But I mean, that's another conversation.